In this video, we're going to walk through how to create a Turnitin assignment inside your course. As you can see, I'm inside my course now, and all I need to do to get started is to click on Create Learning Activity. From your list of options here, I need to click on Turnitin Assignment 2. From here, I need to create my assignment. I need to give my assignment a name. I can give it a summary, add instructions or descriptions, and I'm given this list of options here. From submission type, I can choose any submission type, file upload, or text submission. If I choose file upload, a student would load a file from their hard drive. If I choose text submission, they can copy and paste into a text box. Or I can choose any submission type and let my student choose. You also have the option to create multiple part assignments. If I choose to create one part, my student would submit their paper. It will create a similarity report and give them a score that they can click on to open up Feedback Studio and see their similarity. If I create multiple parts, I can give these multiple parts different start dates, different due dates, and when students submit to each of these parts, it will keep each submission separate so that they can see how their score has changed from one submission to the next. I can choose my maximum file size. And my next option is to allow submission of any file type. Turnitin can only check a student's paper for similarity if the file they've uploaded contains text. If I was to allow submission of any file type, a student could submit an image file. In an image file, there's typically no text. So if they submit an image file, their similarity score will come back as 0. Typically, you're going to want to choose no. That way, students can only submit file types that Turnitin can check for similarity. These are file types such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, TXT, PDF, and so on. A student's file needs to contain text for Turnitin to check it for similarity. Our next option is display Originality reports to students. Yes or no. If you choose yes, a student will be able to open up their similarity report and see where they have matched. If you choose no, it will still run their paper through and be checked against Turnitin's various repositories, and you will still be able to see their score and how they've matched, but they will not be able to. Your next options, grade display and auto refresh scores, are up to you. If you choose to auto refresh scores, it will automatically refresh those scores as you change them. If you choose no, you will have to manually update those yourself. You also have the ability to set these values as assignment defaults. If you know your assignments are going to have the same options chosen, you could check this box to save you time when creating your next assignment. If we scroll back up to the top, you'll notice you have some other options here. If you were to click on Assignment Part 1, this is where you can choose your start date, your due date, and your post date. If you add multiple parts, you can change these for each part. The post date is the day your students would be able to see any comments that you may have added, and your max marks is the score for the paper. When you create an assignment, it will also create a column in your gradebook, and you will be able to see their grades inside your gradebook. Your next set of options, Originality report options, give you these here. Allow submissions after the due date. This is if you would like to allow your students to turn in their assignment late. If you choose yes, students will be able to submit after the due date, but only students who have not submitted at all will be able to submit late. If they're trying to resubmit late, it will not let them. Report generation speed. You have 3 options. Generate reports immediately. Students cannot resubmit. So a student would submit their paper. It would immediately give them back their similarity score, usually within 30 seconds to 2 minutes, but it can take up to 10 minutes depending on how busy the servers are and how large the paper is. Once they've submitted, they're not allowed to resubmit. The second option is generate reports immediately. Students can resubmit until the due date. After 3 resubmissions, reports generate after 24 hours. So a student can submit their paper. They will immediately receive that score and have the ability to open up their similarity report. They can also resubmit as many times as they'd like after the due date. Keep in mind, when students resubmit, it will only keep their latest submission. You will not be able to go back and take a look at their previous submissions, as each resubmission overwrites the previous submission. They can then resubmit 3 times and receive that new similarity report immediately. When they try to resubmit for the 4th time, it will take 24 hours for that report score to generate. The reason for this is that we're trying to stop students from having the ability to resubmit multiple times and make small changes along the way to decrease their similarity score. Your third option is to generate reports on the due date. Students can resubmit until the due date. Your student will submit their paper, but they will not receive their score and have the ability to open up their similarity report until the due date has passed. They can, however, resubmit as many times as they'd like until the due date. You also have the option of store student papers, no repository or standard repository. If you choose standard repository, when your student submits their paper, it will be added to Turnitin's student paper repository, and any future submissions around the globe will be checked against your student's paper as well. If you choose no repository, your students can still submit their paper and still receive their similarity score and open up Feedback Studio to view their similarity, but it will not add their student's paper to the Turnitin repository. The reason you may want to choose no repository is if this is a draft assignment. If you were to add a draft assignment to the standard repository, when your student submits their final draft, it will then check against that first draft, and those scores may be quite high. So a good rule of thumb is if you're creating a draft assignment, you might want to choose no repository. Your next options are what you would like your students' papers checked against. Check against stored student papers. This checks against Turnitin's paper repository. We currently have over 1 billion student papers in our repository, and we are adding around 200,000 each day. You can choose yes or no. You can also choose yes or no for your students' papers to be checked against the internet. We currently have over 70 billion websites archived going back 8 years. If you don't want your students' papers checked against the internet, you can choose no. Our next option is to check against journals, periodicals, and publications. Turnitin has back-end access to many of the major journals, periodicals, and publications, and we check against their content as well. You can choose yes or no if you would like your students' papers to be checked against journals, periodicals, and publications. You do not have to choose all 3, but you have to choose at least one of these options for Turnitin to generate a similarity report. Typically, you will choose all 3, but you do not have to if you do not want to. Our next options are exclusions. If you choose yes to exclude bibliography, Turnitin will not check any content that follows the words references, works cited, or bibliography inside your students' papers. If you choose to exclude quoted material, it will not check any content that falls within quotation marks. And lastly, you have the ability to exclude small matches. One thing you'll notice when using Turnitin is that their similarity report will include very small matches as well as very large matches. Sometimes these matches may be small enough that you do not think they are significant, and you can exclude them if you would like. Right now, I can exclude by words. So if I was to type in 8, the system will not include any matches that are 8 words or less. You also have the ability to exclude by percent. Now keep in mind, percent is based on word count. So if this was a 1,000-word paper and I chose 8%, that would be 80 words. That is a rather large similarity. So you may want to decide to choose to exclude by maybe 1%. Just keep in mind, again, percentages are based on word count. Typically, you might want to exclude by word count, but it is up to you. Once you've chosen your options here, you can move on to the grade mark options. Here you have the ability to attach a rubric. If you would like to load a rubric, you can. If you would like to create your own rubric, you can do that by launching the Rubric Manager. You also have the ability to download rubrics from Turnitin's rubric library at turnitin.com/resources. If you then scroll down to find instructor teacher tools, you can visit Turnitin's rubric library and you can download rubrics that you would like to use and use the Rubric Manager to import those rubrics in for you to use. Your next options are Moodle options, and you can choose these. These are not Turnitin options, but you can go in and make those choices. Once you've chosen all your options, you can now click on Save and Return to the course, or Save and Display. If I click Save and Display, it will take me back to my assignment list, and it will show me my assignment inbox as well. You have 3 tabs up here at the top. Turnitin Tutors is a list of any Turnitin tutors or co-teachers or teaching assistant or graduate assistants, if you have chosen to add those. You also have a list of Turnitin students. If your students are using Turnitin for the first time, this list will not populate with students until a student has submitted at least one paper. Once they submit a paper to a Turnitin assignment, we then create them a Turnitin account based on the email address associated with their Moodle course. Keep in mind, this will most likely stay blank until those students have submitted papers or if they've used Turnitin in the past. If you would like to automatically enroll all your students and give them Turnitin accounts before they submit a paper, you can click Enroll All Students, and it will automatically give all of those students Turnitin accounts and populate your Turnitin student list here. So you can wait until they've submitted, and your list will slowly populate as they submit, or you can force that push through and enroll all your students at once. Not having your student on these lists will not affect their ability to submit papers to a Turnitin assignment. If we head back to our submission inbox, you can see we have our Part 1, our Turnitin assignment demo that we created. I have the ability to edit this if I'd like. I have my start date, due date, and post date, and you can edit all these if you'd like as well. If you've attached a rubric, you can visit the Rubric Manager here and make any changes you'd like. And you also have a Quick Mark Manager. However, you will not be using quick marks, so you will not need this button. If you would like to create a peer review assignment, you can do that by clicking on Launch Peer Mark Manager, and you can create a peer review assignment that allows your students to review other students' work. You also have the ability to notify non-submitters. If you would like to give your students a reminder to submit their paper, you can send out a note to each student who has not submitted yet to remind them to do so. You also have a box here for Turnitin Message Inbox. Occasionally you may receive messages from the Turnitin team letting you know about any upcoming downtime or updates. Down here is a list of my students. I only have one student in my course and they have not submitted yet. When they do submit, it will let you know their submission title, their Turnitin paper ID, when they submitted. It will then also give you their similarity score and the ability to click on this grading pencil. If you click this button here, you have the ability to submit on behalf of a student. If I head back to my assignment list, I have created a paper beforehand, and if I open that up, we can see what it looks like when a student has actually submitted. Here is my student, the title of their paper ID, when they submitted. Here is their similarity score and their grade. If I click on this link, or the pencil, or the grade, it will open up Feedback Studio. As you can see, I am now inside Feedback Studio. For more information on how to use the Similarity Report, and use Feedback Studio, please watch the Feedback Studio video. Thank you for watching.